Hey guys, we're moving on to the next part. As you can see, we're looking at the radical phase of the revolution. As you remember, the French Revolution goes into four phases, and this is the second part. They're going to go from a, not necessarily a peaceful revolution, but a less violent revolution, and they're going to start taking it to the extreme with this radical phase. As you can see, the representation of the radical phase of this revolution is the guillotine, and this is what the French Revolution will become known for, is the use of the guillotine. But before we get to that stuff, we're looking at one question, and that question is, what challenges did the new French government face? The first thing they're going to do when the revolution succeeds is they're going to start a republic. The Paris Commune, as you can see, is going to be too much for this legislative assembly. They're not going to want to keep the Commune around. It's just too big to have it. It meets the first time after the September massacre. Their desire is they want to write a new constitution. The only problem is, at least for the workers, is that it's dominated by the bourgeoisie and the property owners. So pretty much everybody who is not a worker are the ones who are going to have a say in this. But in terms of the First Republic, the first major step is going to be taken on September 2nd, 1792, and the first act is the monarchy is going to be abolished, and they are establishing the French Republic. Factions in the government. You have three different groups who are in control of the government. You have the Mounds. They're made up of the lower middle class and the poor. It belonged to a radical club called the Jacobins. Then you have the next group, the Girondins. Mostly bourgeoisie and nobility outside Paris, so pretty much people who are not living in the city. They are the ones who will hold the power in the legislative assembly. They are the ones who are going to be able to write the rules, the laws, the taxes. They're the ones that are going to be in control of most of it. And they support a constitutional monarchy, so they want to keep the king around, but they want to limit the king's power with a constitution, not form a whole new government, unlike the Mounds. So that's an important distinction. The Mounds want a whole new government. They want to get rid of the monarchy. The Girondins, they want to keep the monarchy, just limit it with a constitution. And then the third group is the Plain. They are the swing voters who are first loyal to the Girondins, and eventually they will switch allegiance to the Mountains once the Mountains come to power. They're going to the Plains are going to be looking at which side, the Mountains or the Girondins, and see which one has more influence and which one has more power, and then that's the side that they are going to actually side with. So it doesn't really matter what beliefs they have, it's just they want to go with whatever side is going to win. The first leader is Georges-Jacques Danton. He's an early leader and violent agitator in the revolution. He is present at the storming of the Bastille, as we talked about one or two videos ago. He advocates overthrowing the royal family. He is the one who's going to lead the idea of overthrowing the royal family in August 1792. He wants to make France into a republic, and he holds many important positions. He's centrist in his views, but he holds many important positions. First off is Minister of Justice, and then member of Committee of Public Safety, of which, while he's that member, he's going to act like a dictator for a little bit. He will not be officially named, but he will act like he is in control of everything. The next guy, Jean-Paul Marat. He is the leader of the Paris Sans-Culottes. He's a publisher. Publishes the Friend of the People, which is a journal that was advocating these radical ideas, these revolutionary ideas to the everyday people of Paris. He advocates using violence to control the revolution. He defends the September massacre. If you remember the September massacre from one video ago to learn more about it. But he advocates using the violence to control the revolution because there will be people who want to branch outward and do their own things, and he's in favor of using violence to make sure those people are in control and not breaking away. He's one of the most radical leaders at the national conventions. Advocates executions, social purges, used attack in his journals to unseat Girondins. Once again, remember, he would be a mountain just because he's one of the poor that is trying to overthrow this whole idea of the monarchy. He is murdered, and you can see on the next slide there's a very famous painting based on this murder by Charlotte Corday in July 1793. Sympathetic to the Girondins, stabbed him as he soaked in his bathtub. Right here is that famous picture, as I explained. Done 1 year after, approximately about a year after his death. Very famous. Next up, and this is someone that you're going to have to remember, like star, highlight, circle, whatever it is you need to do. Make sure you remember this guy's name, Robespierre. He is a representative in the National Assembly. He's a big supporter of democracy from the beginning. He wants to abolish the monarchy and set up a democracy just like the United States. He is a big fan of what the United States was able to do in their revolution against England. Very righteous, opposes slavery and favored equality, and not just equality for the skin colors, but equality for men and women as well. Became involved in with the Jacobins. Critical of the king and the Girondins, becomes a member of the National Convention. He is involved with some controversies of the convention. For example, he places the king on trial, which nobody to this day is still even sure that was legal to do, and he will expel and arrest many of the Girondins that he does not agree with, or the convention does not agree with, I should say. Speaking of the trial, you will see that Robespierre puts Louis the 16th on trial. In January 1793, Girondins opposed the trial. Jacobins wanted the trial and the execution. They are the ones who are going to push for the trial and especially the execution. They want the king gone. They want no chance of him coming back or having any claim to power. They want him and his family done and gone with. He's found guilty and is sentenced to death. And a very famous another portrait, as you can see over to the right. He is executed by guillotine in the January 21st, 1793. Reports of execution will spread throughout Europe, and the rest of the European leaders are going to react with horror. They are terrified of what is happening in France, mainly for the idea that if it can happen in France, then it can happen anywhere, and their own families and themselves are no longer safe. Once word gets out that the people of France have overthrown and executed their king, that is going to spread like wildfire to the rest of the people of Europe, but not just the noble families, but the peasants, the working poor of the Europe, and they're going to, the fear is that they will become inspired to overthrow their own king and start over. So this is going to really shake up Europe just from this one move. Like every other revolution, there's always going to be problems, and in this case, problems are going to actually push the radicals to the forefront. The disputes between the Girondins and the Jacobins blocked the writing of a new constitution. These two sides could not agree. They could not agree on a new constitution. They did not see eye to eye on what kind of government should be created. So the Paris Commune is going to push increasingly for radical policies. Price control on foods, universal male suffrage. So it doesn't matter if you're a property owner or white, black, or whatever your other skin color you can think of. You were able to vote as long as you were a male. Peasants' revolts in western and southern France. Coalition forces began fighting France. Great Britain, Spain, Portugal, Austria, Prussia, Dutch Republic. They all are getting ready to fight France. Once again, these kings and queens of these other countries are terrified of what is happening in France. They want to try and invade France and crush their rebellion just to keep the noble family in power, just so that way it doesn't spread to their own countries. This word of revolution doesn't spread to their other countries, to their own countries. But yeah, so that's kind of it. Those are the challenges that are facing this new government. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side you're on, the radicals are going to take over. As you can see, those problems that we just listed on the last slide, they're going to be the issues that let the radicals take over. And once the radicals take over, we have what's called the Reign of Terror, which you guys will find out what's going on with that in the next video. So until then, I will talk to you guys next time. See ya.